how I became a code talker. That was in right after December 7, 1941. That year I was in high school at Fort Wingate, New Mexico. Next day, President Roosevelt declared war on Japan. That Monday when we went to the classroom, all the boys in our class didn't come back. Only two of us. All the young women in that class were so surprised that only two of us stayed. The rest of them left. And we were sort of the butt of a joke. All those young ladies are laughing at us. Why? Two babies stayed behind. Anyway, most of those guys that were in our classroom that didn't come back, we found out that they volunteered to join the service. Spring, we finished high school, and most of our classmates that didn't return to the classroom, they volunteered and went in. And most of them became the ones they call the first 29. Right after finishing high school, I didn't know where to go to. I stopped at the train station and asked for a job. And I found out they only hire 21-year-olds. They don't hire 18-year-olds. So I just left. Just before I went out the door, the person that interviewed me said, "Why don't you come back 1 o'clock? We may have something for you." As soon as I walked in, the guy that interviewed me said, "Did you say you were 21? I didn't know what to say. I just said, yeah, I'm 21. So he told me, "You're hired." That's where, while we were working on the railroad, the draft board came around. And they asked all the guys, "Are you registered?" and stuff like that. When it came to me, and it says, "I'm only 18, I'm not draft age yet." It says, "Baloney. You cannot work on this railroad while you're 18 years old. You have to be 21 or yes." So I just told him, I said, "No problem, I'll go there." Not even, I guess it's not even a month later, the draft board called me and says, "I want you." Uncle Sam wanted me. So I went. And then they told me that, "Hey, Chief, you don't have to go. You're doing a defense job here. Working on this railroad, they carry a lot of military equipment, and you help repairing these roads here. That's a defense job, they says. You didn't have to go. But I heard enough between them, those workers. They kept calling each other draft dodgers. And I didn't want to be a draft dodger. So I just left and went to the draft board and passed my physical exam. A lot of the guys in there, they said they don't know how to speak English. They can't read, they can't write. So they just turned them back. And with us, 3 of us said we can read and write, understand English. He took us, that was on March 13, 1945. No, 43. That's how I joined the Marines there. It wasn't my wish. They just put me in there. And I sort of complained when they draft me. And I said, hey, at the Treaty of 1868 between the federal government and the Navajo tribe, in that treaty it says, you Navajos will not bear arms anymore. And right there, they shove a rifle in our hands and say, you go defend America. I complained that, but nobody heard me. Besides that, when they took me to Code Talker school, I said, hey, when I went to government school, they told me to forget my language, forget my culture. Don't speak Navajo anymore. Right after basic training, all the guys that I did the training with, they were sent across to South Pacific. With me, they put my seat bag to the side and the Jeep. All they told me is, get in. So I got in, and off we went. Where I found out that the code was already made by the first 29. All we have to do was memorize it. Memorize all that code and then learn how to operate a radio.
Was that easy?
Well, we were just something like a regular Marine. You get shot, you shoot back, but a lot of young people ask me, how many did you kill? Oh, shucks, you can't tell how many we kill. As soon as there's a Japanese come up, all the firepower start coming in. You can't tell whether you're the one that shot it or not. There's a lot of people accuse us, oh, you guys, you code talkers, you were way back there with the headquarters. Headquarters are the top brasses. That's where they control the whole war there. But the infantrymen, they're the ones that are way out there, fighting hand to hand there. And they sign us with them. A lot of kids always ask, were you scared? I said, yes, I was scared. no one in his right mind will not be scared at all. Even when we went to a place called Death Valley, we were right in the front line. They pulled us out of there and they put a group of Marines in our place, and they took us to a place called Death Valley. It's a short valley. The Marines tried to cross that valley. The Japanese had machine guns over on the other side. There's nothing to hide behind. When the Marines tried to cross that, they just literally mowed them down. I know because I ran across that. Across the valley, say you guys line up along the valley. When you give you the signal, you run across and look for this machine gun nest. I volunteered to take the first one up there. When they gave the signal, we start running across. There's a lot of rocks and boulders. Just beyond those boulders there, oh shucks, there's a whole bunch of Marines there were shut down, laying on top of one another. Some of them were still alive. There's nothing to feel because I had a bead sent to me. It was the night of February 22nd. We went to sleep in the foxhole. In the morning, my buddy that I share foxhole with kicked me on my leg. And he said, "Hey Sam, are you having a nightmare?" I got up and I dreamed about an Indian maiden with the buckskin clothes on, hair long, clean to the knees, came to me and said, "Here, you wear this and you will come back to us." When I woke up, it was so clear and real that I just sat at the edge of the foxhole and thought about it. Everybody went to breakfast. They came back and said, "Hey Chief, what's wrong?" I think I said, "Oh, I had a dream, I'm thinking about it." And that was it. After a while, mail call. Everybody went to mail call. I don't go to mail call because I don't get any mail. All of a sudden, this guy by the name of Al Mertz come running back. "Hey, Chief, you got the mail, you got the mail." I said, "Who the heck would write to me?" Came over, and just before he gave me the mail, said, "There's something in it." As soon as he gave me the letter, I looked at the return address. Nothing. No return address. So we opened up, and here that bead I was told to wear. It was in it. And as soon as I found that out, I says, "Oh yes, I'm supposed to wear it." I put it on. The moment I put it on, all fear disappeared. And right away I said, "I'm going home. I'm going home." And the Marines in that foxhole said, "Who said you're going home?" Uh, Took a hold of my beat and pulled it up, said, "This one says so, I'm going home." He just laughed and said, "Hey, Chief, that's a lot of horse shit." So that was it. Whether it is or not, but I believed in it. And that's what carried me across that Death Valley. I ran across it, ran smack into a machine gun like that. It says, "Don't do anything. Just beat it back and report it." So we all did. We ran back and reported. And then we found out there were 3 machine guns across there. And by the time we got back, we gave the location. They had the maps already spread out. Right after that Death Valley duty, the sergeant came up and grabbed me by the neck, and boy, he just chewed me up and down. "Damn it, Chief, haven't you learned how to take orders yet?" Because I violated the orders to run across that valley. I stopped, and my partner stopped, and we tried to help a wounded Marine there. And he told us that was not our duty. Your duty is to find a machine gun. And we did. Right after that, one of the code talkers ordered artillery fires, rocket fires, and motor fires. And within 5 minutes, there's a whole file of Jeep came in, backed up, and then behind it there's racks of rockets. They set it there and they elevated it, and when they just, I don't know, there's some kind of machine that they just turned it on. All those rockets just right after another. And then the next group was the motor. It shuts like that. It has a cylinder, and it's got a bullet or something. They just turn it upside down and drop it. As soon as they drop it, it just coughs and throws that rock, something like a rocket, over where the targets are. At the same time, the big artillery pounding that machine gun areas. Boy, I tell you that rocks, smoke, dust just flying all over the place. And one of the code talkers says, "I guess when they say it's hell, it must be like that," he says. Anyway, after the smoke, after they stopped firing, they ordered the Marines across. They just walked across even before the dust and the smoke settled. And they found out they knocked all the machine guns out. And then the officer that took us over there told us, "Recon, you had enough today. Go back to the ship." So we were ordered right out of action right there. And the real sad thing about it is that when I came back to the States, I found out we didn't have any telephone or anything at home. If we had any kind of telephone or communication, I would have called home and asked permission to go home right away. That way, I would have met my mother and my sister alive. But I found out my father died already. So when I got home, I found out my father, my mother, and one of my sisters were dead. And where I was born, I thought that was my land. I found out somebody, one family living on it already. And I asked about it. It's a tribal law now. If you don't live on that land for at least 4 years, you lose that land, they told me. So you were away somewhere and you lost it, and we move on it. Boy, to me, that was real terrible. I blamed the military for what they did to me. If you lose all of that, I don't know what to do. I just spent one night there. Just before dawn, I got up and just walked out of there. And I felt that there's nothing there for me anymore.